It's time to relive great moments with former Cowboys.
Eddie, something one of the all-time great.
You know, that's one of the great things in having the opportunity to coach here in Oklahoma State was the fact that you had such great people.
It's time for Where Are They Now on Triple Play Sports Radio.
John Farrell, former Cowboy pitcher back in the early 80s.
And, mostly putting up to me, I guess, after, chasing everybody around, chasing us around the country.
Where Are They Now? Our weekly talk with former Oklahoma State athletic coaches, players, and personnel.
Desmond Mason, former All-American player here at Oklahoma State.
So today, that's what I spend most of my days doing. For the most part is, in the studio trying to paint and trying to create. And I enjoy doing that.
It's like catching up with an old friend every Wednesday.
Boy, do I feel old today, as I always do on a Wednesday when we bring back some of these former athletes. We're talking with Houston.
Sure did. Had a great time. That was of course, my mom and dad went to school there. My brother, Dickie, as you mentioned, went to school there. And, of course, we both met our wives right there in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Now your host, ready to take a stroll down memory lane, here is Tom Dirato.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome once again to Where Are They Now? And a friend of the program for sure, and a friend of mine, since he was here at Oklahoma State, Jordy Mercer, no stranger to the show. But Jordy, how are things going for you and your family in this tough time here?
Hey, Katie, thanks for having me. Everything's good so far. Just enjoying some family time. I haven't been here, and I think it's been 12 years since I've been back in Oklahoma at this time of year. So it's nice to enjoy some family time and kind of, catch up where I've left off over the years.
I could say, what have you been doing to stay in shape? But when you got little ones like you have, they'll keep you in shape every day.
Oh yeah, we're in the backyard. We're outside playing a lot. We're doing all kinds of stuff. So it's every day's a new adventure at our house, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It takes a toll on Mama and I, but we wouldn't change it for the world.
No, hey, they go by in a hurry. Enjoy them while you got them. Let me ask you this, and we hear all kinds of stories, and it depends on who we just played a cut from Scott Boras, who said something today about, basically saying players are ready to go back to work. They feel confident in what's going to go on. But what about these stories we hear about, playing in Arizona, having come up with 3 different conferences? What are you hearing from you and your agent and your club?
Well, I think you're hearing a bunch of different. The logistics is the hardest part here. Is what we're trying to figure out what the safest thing to do. I think we can go back and play right now, but is that the smart thing to do? I don't know. With all, Oklahoma would be a good place to play. It seems like we're doing well. We're on the decline, but our other states doing that. That's the problem is, you got 30 clubs, you got 30 different states. If that's the case, so you just don't know how the logistics of the whole thing, because people forget about the bus drivers or the chefs or things like that. It's not just the players. It's a lot of there's a lot that goes into a full day of a game, and I think we're going to play with no fans when we do play. I think that's pretty much probably a given. Maybe later on, playoff time be then, but I think when we start, there's going to be no fans. We just got to figure out the landscape. I think that's the biggest thing. I think the Arizona thing is a little too much. Everybody being under one, biodome type thing. Can't see our families. I think that's kind of thrown out because that's not going to work. There's too many guys that have kids and families, and being away for that long is not going to be a lot of fun. So I've heard the 3 different divisions, and I've also heard the Florida, Texas, and Arizona. 3 different basically states, and that's it. So. I think you're just trying to figure out the right thing to do and move forward from there.
You're a straight shooter, and maybe this is a better question for further on down the line when you get to this point. But, individually, everybody has to face this. But will you feel confident enough to step out on that field and either in spring training part 2 or the start of a new season? How will you feel about the entire situation personally?
It is what it is. I think that's it. You just gotta. It's all weird. This whole 2020 has already been so weird. We were a week and a half away from opening day, everybody was ready to go. I mean, we had pitchers throwing 70 pitches, 5+ innings. I mean, and we're all locked in and ready to go. All of a sudden, boom, and they shut the whole thing down. So it's going to take time to get guys back in shape and back in, baseball mode, because some guys have full access to gyms and things, and some guys don't. That's just the way it is. And you got guys coming from all over the world, too, as well. So it is what it is, man. You just got to. It's going to be a weird season. We know playing without no fans is going to be weird. Playing, and whatever they decide to do to play is going to be. It's just going to be a weird year. But we're trying to get it in. We're trying to kind of get the whole country back to normal and move on. And
eventually, you have to trust the people in the science and medical field, right? That it is safe to go out and do this.
I think that's the number one thing. I think that's the number one thing is you gotta trust everybody that knows way more than we do. Basically, there's so much speculation. Like when we're going to start. I think this is a good time to start, or we've seen a plateau now, and now we see the downward spiral. So now we can get out and play. Well, we don't know the truth though, and that's the problem is we got to give it to the experts. Because I don't think we're going to want them to come out and play a baseball game. When they don't have much baseball experience, that we're not going to do the same when they have all that experience too as well.
You brought up a good point, and your club probably would be in the middle of a discussion like this, but I would say the state of Michigan's not exactly it's not smooth sailing there right now in terms of people having to stay home and those protesting and on with the governor. Might that be a roadblock in the near future that, hey, we're not ready to have a baseball team come play in Detroit?
Yeah, I think that's one of the hurdles that they're trying to figure out, especially, Detroit, up in the New York area, things like that. I mean, there's a lot of baseball teams up in that area, Boston, New York, Pittsburgh. I mean, they're all right there in Philly. They're all right next to each other. So that's the whole thing that the players and the owners are trying to figure out what the safest thing to do first and foremost, and then try to figure out the logistics of it and how to go about the whole season. And because it's going to be a shortened season, we know that. Just a matter of how many games we're going to get in and where we're actually going to play and what's going to go down.
I was reading a story from Tony Clark, and again, I guess he's the Major League Players Association president, I think, is what I remember. And he basically said all these plans are not reality until they run them by the Players Association. Is that simple? I mean, do you, as a body, you guys have to approve this?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way it works. Is the MLB and the owners kind of come up with a plan and try to figure out like what kind of the best situation is, and then they send a proposal over basically to the players. And there's just so much more than the average person knows. You can't just be all right, kind of dust our hands up and let's go play. It just doesn't work that way. There's a lot of variables that got to go on. Players' pay, pension, things like that are huge factors when it comes to something like this. And as well as everybody knows, as the season starts getting shorter and shorter and shorter, the pay is going to be harder and harder to get. So, I mean, there's a give and take in both sides. So once we send a proposal, and then we got to figure out, do we like it? Do we not like it? Do we need to adjust some things? And then kind of as a back and forth, haggle out situation, and then we go.
Last time we talked, you felt confident. And I don't know, what was it, half of spring training, maybe a third of the spring training, whatever it is you guys got in, that you felt like, even though you were a non-invitee, or I guess is free agent the correct term? I don't know if you were a free agent going to camp, whatever it was, but you felt good enough that you would be on the 40-man roster when they broke camp. Does this new system, does this jeopardize what you were going to maybe plan to get done with Detroit, or has that changed at all?
I don't think so. I've also heard, rosters are going to expand, which helps my situation out too. It's kind of hard to see us going in with the season with only 25 guys in such a short amount of games and a short amount of time. You're going to need more bodies. So I think that helps my situation. And plus, all the feedback I was getting, like you said, was positive. I was playing well. I was having one of my best spring trainings I've had in a number of years. and I was having fun. I was bouncing around, playing a bunch of different positions and playing it well and just enjoying my time. So I think everything was pointing in the right direction, and I still think it's pointing in the right direction. It's just a matter of if and when, basically, we get this thing going.
Hey, Jordy, Patrick Wheeler here. I didn't know if you had seen Trevor Plough's tweet on Twitter. This was 2 days ago when he had said that he had heard from multiple sources that on June 10th, Spring Training 2 will start, and then July 1st will be opening day. Of course, that was 2 days ago. And then today, Ken Rosenthal kind of put something out about it, saying, no, those dates hadn't really been official yet. And he tweeted back to him and said he had texts from players in 6 different organizations telling him that those are going to be those dates. Can you talk to any of that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's all speculation. I've heard it just like you guys heard it. But we just got the email today from the Players Association, and there's been no formal, presentation to us from MLB yet. So, yeah, those numbers or those dates are definitely getting thrown around. But yeah, we haven't received any proposal at all yet. So I guess we just kind of continue to keep our eyes open and the ears open and try to figure this thing out together.
I mean, you're a veteran of this business, and I would think you just kind of roll with the flow. But what's it been like for you? I mean, yeah, I guess every time the phone rings or something comes across your email, that could be the notification that, hey, let's go. Is that kind of how you approach it?
Yeah, and I'm still staying in touch with our PA guy that we have. Every team has a PA rep, basically a Player Association rep. And so if I hear something or whatever it might be, I'll send a text over to him. Hey, are you guys talking about this, or did you guys hear this, or any word about this? And so I'm continuing to, if I hear something, basically just reach out. But other than that, though, I'm just enjoying this time. I was talking to my wife a couple of days ago, like, this is kind of like the retire before the retired, basically. So I'm kind of getting a glimpse of what's going on, and it's just crazy times. Like I said, we're trying to stay safe. We're not going too far as a family. We're trying to stay home and just be safe for us, and I hope everybody else is as well. But it seems like we're getting ahead of it now a little bit, and we're starting to slow this thing down and hopefully get things back to normal.
Were you ever in line to be a PA with Pitt at all? I don't know if I've ever asked you that question.
Yes, I was an assistant at a few years. I was, yeah.
And of course, that comes with a lot of responsibility, because people are coming to you, right, for not necessarily this, but for information about things like contracts and this and that. So I guess that's over and above what you're doing on the field. Let me take you back a little bit. I say not a little bit, more than a little bit. Back to your days when the draft was coming up at Oklahoma State. This is you talk about a whole different deal now with maybe the draft is going to be 5 rounds, 6 rounds, whatever it was. I don't know. That's another one of those rumor mill things. But the seniors and the draftable juniors, now they get an extra year with the NCAA. You talk about being in the middle of a mess right there. That's got to be a tough decision, I would think.
Yeah, I was talking a little bit about with my one of my agents, one of my guys I talked to, not actually Scott, but one of the guys I talked to, and it's just, I feel like, the opportunity's not going to be there anymore for kids because you see this all the time. It's kind of what we call them, guys drafted late in the rounds that end up turning it on and making it, and now they don't know if they're going to get opportunity or not, and that's the crazy thing about it. The leverage is not going to be there anymore. The players have, so it's just it's going to be a different dynamic. Just like the NFL thing was all virtual, and they couldn't do interviews and things like that. I know that's kind of a separate thing because they still got to play their season, but it's just going to be weird, man. It's all going to be weird, and I hope that the kids get the opportunity to continue their career and go play pro ball. And who knows, there's a lot of things happen when you get out there and play, and you get a wood bat in your hand, and things click for you, and all of a sudden you shoot up, the minor leagues, and before you know it, you lived your dream. And so I just hope they get the opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing is just give them opportunity, and I hope the teams see that and sign a bunch of guys. We
had Donnie Walton on here a couple of days ago, and we were talking because Donnie's, he's kind of marking time at Tacoma when they get going again. He'll probably make it back to Seattle like he did late last year. But We're talking about some of the lower levels of the minor leagues may not be here because of the hit that the economy has taken. That's another one of those, that lessens the opportunity, if you will, for kids to start making their way through there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you gotta look at the whole broad spectrum. I think, when you start talking about every minor league or every organization's probably got 5 or 6 or more minor league teams, and that's in 5 or 6 different cities. And so you go around 30 different teams. I mean, that's a lot of different teams, a lot of different cities. We don't know if this thing's going to actually go away or not either. So, that's just another opportunity for guys that they're not going to get in their development, basically. I think that's the biggest thing is, in Donnie's sake, I mean, he's already got a taste of the big leagues. He's going to go back to AAA. He's going to know he can play in the big leagues, and so he's just going to continue to develop and get better at his craft, and he'll be back up before no time. So guys like that need to continue to develop, need to play, especially in the lower levels where you're just getting used to that pro ball dynamic, that pro ball atmosphere, that they're riding the buses, taking BP every day, things like that, playing every day in general. I think that stunts their development, but hopefully they continue to work, continue to maybe have some, something in the fall that organization is going to put on, something like that. I don't know. It's just, like I said, this whole 2020 thing's been pretty weird.
Patrick Drew brought up a picture of you in a Tiger uniform playing short, and I told him it just doesn't look right. I mean, there ought to be a Pirate uniform on there, but that's just the business right there. How's it been? I mean, yeah, you got a little bit of time in the organization. That you got to change leagues, those types of things. Although who knows who you'll be playing if we do a conference thing. But how's it been with Detroit? Are you feeling more comfortable now?
Yeah, it's been fun. Like last year was definitely a different feel. Switching divisions, switching leagues in general, and facing guys that I've never faced before, things like that. But Ron Gardner, our manager, is such a good dude. He's old school as it gets, kind of like Clint Hurdle, and so that transition was pretty easy for me. And all those guys on the coaching staff, they got an old veteran coaching staff, so they've been around for a long time, and they still believe in the old school baseball, play hard, catch and throw the ball, and then you're going to win some games. So, a lot of the new guys are in the analytic stuff and whatnot, which that's okay, but they still believe in the old school philosophy. So it's been a good transition for me, and continue to stay in my organization where I'm familiar now, which helps. And they I played well towards the end of the year, which was good. And so the coaches saw that, and the front office saw that. And so it's good to be back and see some familiar faces.
I got to think it would be, you get used to it because you're professionals, and that's exactly what you do. But if in fact this comes off the way we think it will, and you're going out there and playing in front of nobody, I mean, basically nobody in the stands. Now, that won't make any difference in performance, but, I mean, the first time you step out there and look around, there's nobody there, will have to feel a little different for you.
It's definitely going to be different. It's definitely going to be, something that we're going to have to get used to. It's going to take time. All of us as players, we're going to have to watch what we say probably a little bit more than normal.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's just going to be a lot of adjusting, basically. But like I said, us players, we're wired to get out there and play and enjoy it and hone in our craft, and that's what we love to do. And so we're ready to get out there and do it, whether it's fans or no fans.
You mean you guys just still go darn and shoot and all that? I mean, occasionally something would slip, I guess, maybe, or
yeah, occasionally something might spill over for sure, especially if you're in one of those bad slumps that sometimes you get in.
Yeah, I would imagine. Or maybe some of those conversations players have at first base, maybe we can mic you guys. That might add a little bit to it, just depending on what you're talking about, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some kind of different dynamics that, the TV is going to play just to get an insight for fans because they can't be there. So I think there's going to be a lot of adjusting. A lot of TV revenue is going to be figured out how to get inside the dugouts, get inside the players' heads, things like that they've never seen before. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
On this note, we'll leave it. But you've seen it happen in the All-Star games. I think it's kind of neat. I mean, I'm not one for making a game into a three-ring circus. The All-Star game could be that way, But I kind of like, depending on who it is, of course, putting a mic on somebody while the game is going on. You have to be a special guy. I think you can handle that. How'd you like to have a mic on when you're waiting for a ball to be hit to you at short?
I think it'd be fun. I think till a big situation comes up or something like that, and you got somebody in your ear and you're trying to focus, trying to figure out what the plan is here. But I think they were dabbling in it in spring training, and I think they got nothing but great reviews over it. Especially, some of the all-stars that they had too that were mic'd out during the games. And so spring training, I think it's a good time to practice anything because nothing counts, obviously, and it's a good time to go out and just get your work in and be done and come back the next day. But once the season starts and you're getting to some big game, I don't know if being mic'd up or somebody in your ear, like I said, would be a good opportunity.
And I don't know that they continue to follow up on this, but the computer ump too. I'm not big for that. I don't know. Didn't they try that in some other lower leagues or something to see how the ump?
Yeah, I think they tried it in the Arizona Fall League. I think when they tried it. Yeah, I heard that didn't go very well though.
You don't think it didn't go over as much as they thought it was going to? I guess probably.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You got to have somebody to complain to, right? At least look at, if nothing else.
That's right.
You got to say, that was down low. I mean, you can't take a computer's opinion, that's for sure. Hey, it's great to catch up with you. I know you're just kind of waiting, and when the move's made, and Lakeland will be calling you, I guess that's where you end up, right back where you ended up, and that's a good place to be. That's the first time I looked at that last night. I looked at that park. That's a pretty nice area.
Yeah, it's good. They completely renovated it completely, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. So everything's brand new. I mean, everything. It's pretty cool to see some of those old spring training parks in Florida that's been around for a long, long time. Even when I was in Pittsburgh, they redid, Bradenton, and that was one of the oldest spring training parks there's been around, basically, and they made that thing really, really nice. So it's pretty cool to see some of those parks down there that they've transitioned. Atlanta just got a brand new one, too, at Northport, which is extremely nice. So there's definitely some nice parks down there, and I think everybody's just anxious to get out there and get going and like I said, get our feet wet again, basically, and get back into game shape and do what we love to do.
All right, bud. We'll keep in touch, and as we go along, we'll get back and see what you're doing here when we're playing this kind of a strange season, but hopefully we'll still be playing. And best of luck to you, man.
All right, Chitty. Thanks for letting me. Appreciate it, man.
Okay, see you. Talk to you later. That's Jordy Mercer, and Jordy's been on this show many, many times, and but not talking about this, obviously. And as he said, it's been a long time, 10 years, 20 years since he's been in the state on this date and been at home, much less that me in the state, but at home, he's basically wherever he was playing with Pittsburgh and or now Detroit, they were a tenth of the way through the season probably by now.
Honestly, how sick are probably Major League Baseball players too of just answering. They're like, there's nothing else to answer, but when do you think the season's going to start and all this stuff.
And I kind of liked that's where I wanted to get him on because, I'm not sure who calls the shot. I mean, is it the commissioner? But I got the impression from Jordy's comments, it's still the players. I mean, whatever they put forth, it still has to be approved by the Players Association. Now, are they all going to say we're going to approve anything because we want to go play? I don't know if they're going to go that far. But I think the ABCs have to be in order for that association to kind of look at it and say, this might work, but I don't know about this. So I don't know. We may not be we could be close, but I don't know if we're as close as they make it sound with all the parties that still have to approve of it.
Yeah, it was interesting because I did wonder what he and other players have thought about, for instance, like Phil Hughes and Trevor Plouffe both come out and say, they tweet, hey, I've got players that have texted me this and said, get ready for June 10th because that's when spring training 2 is coming up and July 1st is the opening day of the season. And, you guys are like, hey, that's we haven't, got an official word. And he's like, I'm just telling you what players have sent to me. So I don't know.
I mean, it may be one of those things that kind of spreads.
Right.
One says this, one, and that may be wishful thinking, and it may end up being that way. I mean, I think the June start and back to camp in June and start in July, I think that's kind of floated along enough now, and Jordy didn't shoot it down any. I mean, but I do think that their agents tell them what they're going to do and basically keep them plugged in. I wasn't sure. I know Steve and I talked. I wasn't sure he was associate or assistant Players Association rep. But that's a lot on their plate. But I don't think there's any doubt, Patrick. They all want to go play.
No, yeah, that's not,
there's no doubt about that.
That's not a question at all. It's just a matter of what holds weight and is it true or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I love Jordy. I even liked watching him play against the Cardinals when he was with Pittsburgh all the time. I remember he walked them off one night. It was like 11-inning game a few years ago, or it was like back in 2016, 2017, whatever it was. It was like they said like 30 degrees, coming off the Allegheny out there in Pittsburgh. And they asked Jordy afterwards, like, what, how was that? How was the game? And can you describe that feeling? He goes, we were just ready to get the heck out of here. It was like, past midnight probably that time, 30 degrees, and he'd walk off single to get him out of there.
Jordy's a good guy. He's been one of my good friends ever since he was here, and is a great ambassador for Oklahoma State University. We didn't get into that part, but played for his country and played on a U.S. team. He did about everything he could possibly do. Was a mainstay for the Pirates for a long time. And the only thing that he didn't do was he didn't walk off St. Louis enough for me. But if he could have done it every time they played, I really would have been happy.
One time was plenty for me. So, yeah, that was a great interview. So we'll have that again, full interview. If you joined late or late into the interview, we'll have that full interview up on the YouTube page, just Triple Play Sports Radio on YouTube. That's it for us. TD, I appreciate it. As always, we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Hey, tomorrow we'll have Tom Holliday on at 4:15, awesome. And we're gonna see what Tom's got to say about summer baseball, and we'll get into this classic, this supposedly in a great place too. So.
All right, that's coming up tomorrow. Don't miss it. This has been the Afternoon Sports Drive, and Where Are They Now? Here on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network. See you back here tomorrow.